It is wonderful to have you with us for this very special League of Visionaries podcast and Media Strategy for Visionaries session. And this one is called Media Strategy, the Inside Job. Because although the work that I do with clients and with other people in my audience is always about media strategy and how to share your visionary message with the world, the moment that clients get me alone, they all seem to ask the same question. It's always about the self-doubt. It's about the imposter syndrome, which we've finally given a name after so many of us have been struggling with it for a long time, right? It's about the uncertainty, the instability when it comes to how do I share my message every day, get out there and really convince people that I know what I'm talking about. Because even though I'm an expert, even though I have spent all this time working in this field and I'm constantly learning new things, I still find that there are things I don't know, or I still wonder whether I'm fully worth the price that I'm charging. Does that sound familiar to any of you? This whole imposter syndrome, uncertainty, and then the difficulty in sustaining the work that you're doing. So many people start with their social media presence, or they start publishing articles, or they start speaking on stages. And then suddenly, although they're doing a great job, this insecurity strikes and they realize, oh, but I haven't attained perfection. Or worse yet, well, yesterday I felt really on top of things, but today I just feel like I don't necessarily have anything to say. Sound familiar? Well, that is exactly why this session is about creating the confidence, the conviction, and the consistency to share your visionary message. Because the truth is, there are moments when you might feel on top of the world and you can absolutely go and do all those things. And then we all have those moments of self-doubt, of uncertainty, and even of just finding it so difficult to remain consistent in our message and in the work we're putting out. And that's what this session is all about, because since so many people have been asking this question, and it seems to come up again and again and again within my audience, within my clients, from the housewife going back to work, right through to the CEOs and the card-carrying experts. It happens to all of us. So let's go take a look at the inside job. But now we all know how this game works, right? You come to an online event or you see a video and well, there's lots of good information. And then at the end of it, people tell you, okay, but I'm not going to tell you more unless you buy my thing. Well, I'm not going to ask you to buy my thing. Let's be completely transparent and I'll tell you up front exactly what's going to happen and what you'll have the opportunity to do at the end of this session. As we go through our session today, we are going to look at all the things that you can really do to do that inside job of a media strategy that is successful and consistent and sustainable. But by doing it through that inside job of really coming to terms with your own value, getting over that imposter syndrome and building the energy and the sustainability to really go through with a media strategy that works, a media strategy that works for you and that can grow with you. Does that sound good? Is that what you're in here for? You can give me a thumbs up in the chat or with your reactions, or just on the screen if you'd like to communicate there. So that is what this session is all about. Right, that looks good. Fantastic. That's what we're going to do in this session. But the benefit of staying on to get the other information and what is coming is that you will have an opportunity to join the Media Strategy Mafia for a 30-day free trial. Now, the Media Mafia is your trusted circle of insider media support. And this is a group where once a week we get together and we support each other in building a visionary media strategy. Every month, we look at one specific element of media strategy and we have a masterclass about that. Tomorrow night is the masterclass about the inside job of media strategy, where we dive deeper into what you have learned here. We also have one Q&A session in a month where you can ask any questions about your media strategy. And we have 2 implementation sessions where we literally get together and support each other to do the things that we need to do to go build that media strategy. In other words, we get together for a Zoom meeting, say hi, check in, see how we can support each other, and then we go work. Because you know how hard it can be to do that work on your own, right? Well, in the Mafia, we do it together. And at the end of the session, we check in again just to see how far everybody has got and where they still want to go. Members of this Mafia have been achieving wonderful results in the time that they, from the time that they join to within a month, many of them started to see very, very different and more impactful results than what they had had before. And they developed a stronger message. They're much more confident in introducing themselves with a compelling elevator pitch that is sure to bring them new clients and new advocates. So that is what happens in the Media Strategy Mafia. For those who can't attend live sessions, there are always recordings available. And there's also an opportunity to follow up with other members of this Mafia. So yes, that's the catch. If you stay to the end of this session, you'll have an opportunity to join this Mafia for a free 30-day trial. And you can always cancel that trial after 30 days if you're not happy, or if you find it serves you, you can stay on. So that's the catch. Now, let's get on to what our session is all about. And let's talk about the problem. The big fat problem that people run into when they start building a wonderful media strategy. They have a stunning social media campaign. They have a LinkedIn profile that people would just fall over themselves in the street for. They have the idea of perhaps publishing articles or appearing on podcasts or being interviewed by the media or speaking from the stage. The plan is perfect. And then reality strikes. They get this feeling. I feel like an imposter. I feel like a fake. I'm not sure if I'm worth this rate. That is the biggest invoice I've ever written in my life. I'm not sure if I deserve it. Or the sense that, well, the limelight is very uncomfortable. Or somebody just disagreed with me. Or maybe even, I don't know how I'll ever get started. Then there are others who have already established a good online presence and they're getting some media action, and suddenly they feel, I don't know if I can keep this up anymore. So if any of that has happened to you, you'll understand just how incapacitating it can be, right? Here you are with the best of intentions, and suddenly it feels like it's just not working because you're second guessing yourself, you're doubting yourself, you're feeling uncertain, and suddenly it just all seems too big. Well, many people at this point either turn around, they might give up. Some of them would very simply, quietly disappear, shrink back into the background, or my personal favorite, start something new. Because guess what? You start something new and the same things are going to come up again. So why not get over this on the project that you're working on or on the brand that you're building? It sounds so simple, but we know it can be a lot more complicated than that, right? It can feel like a force that's holding you back, like your hands are tied and you just don't know how to move forward. So what do we do about this if it's such a big problem? Well, I'm sure you'll agree with me at this point that the problem in a case like this, the obstacle standing in your way, the one and only thing stopping you is you. And I know, because I'm not an expert on all that many things, but when it comes to self-doubt, I think I should have a PhD, an Academy Award, and a number of other accolades, because I have so been through the process of self-doubt and discovering what it takes to get out of it. And if the problem is ourselves, the secret that I discovered is that the solution is getting over ourselves by forgetting about ourselves. And here's the thing that has helped me most. So if you've stumbled onto that imposter syndrome moment, or the insecurity, or the self-doubt, or you're even wondering if it's even worthwhile getting started, or if anybody is interested in what you have to say, think about this. Have you ever been outside on a hot, baking summer's day, and it's as if the sun is relentlessly baking down, baking you up, and all you want is just a little bit of relief, a little bit of coolness, and you find a tree. Imagine coming out from the sun into the beautiful, cool, fragrant shade of an oak tree. And that shade is there protecting you, cooling you down, giving you this sense of suddenly being protected and part of nature. And it's like the temperature just drops, and where you felt vulnerable and exposed and almost persecuted by this extreme sun and heat, suddenly there's this sense of comfort and connectedness and coolness and protection. That tree is there because it didn't stay an acorn. That oak tree went from being an acorn to being a sapling, to growing and growing and growing just a little bit year after year, until eventually here is this exquisite tree that provides protection for you and for anybody else who comes by. It provides a home for the many creatures that live there. It just provides. Because that oak got over itself. Instead of saying, hey, I'm just going to stick around and be a tiny little acorn. This is very comfortable. I think I can manage this. I can pretty much pull that off. It was exposed to the right elements, to the water, to the earth, to the soil, to the sunshine, to the warmth, that allowed that acorn to germinate and become a seedling. And yes, it must have been pretty scary going through this process of just erupting out of an acorn and becoming a bigger thing, a tree, a sapling, a tree, a growing thing, looking down and realizing, oh my goodness, it's a long way down from here. What if I fall over? But it persevered, kept growing. And now there's a tree that provides shelter. Not to mention the oxygen that allows humanity to breathe and live. The essentials for life. All that because the acorn got over itself. Instead of thinking only of itself, it provided. And it's wonderful that in nature this happens so easily and so naturally. And the acorn probably doesn't grapple with self-doubt. It just unfolds. And what if we can do the same. And instead of thinking about ourselves, think about the people who will benefit from the work that we do. And the work that we do in our lifetime, that's still the sapling, the small young tree. The legacy we leave behind, that is the oak. So if you doubt, if you struggle, if you wonder how you dare to step out there with your message, stop for a moment and think about the people who will benefit. This is not about you. This is about the legacy you can leave and the impact that you can create for other people. Maybe somebody needs you. Maybe somebody needs to hear what it is that you have to say. And that is the biggest deciding factor, because when we can set aside our self-doubt and remember that on the other side of it lies the benefit we can give to others, the purpose we can have, the self-doubt and the uncertainty and all the different problems, the obstacles, the things that can trip us up, all of them are suddenly miraculously taken care of. We have the opportunity to become that oak if we get over ourselves. So really, what it's all about is simply to decide. When we look at the word decide, it's actually built up from a Latin root, de, which means off, and caedere, which means cut or fell or cut down or even kill. To decide means take that axe and cut off all possibilities, cut off the escape route, and take ourselves seriously. Very often, when we get to the bottom, to the root, the self-doubt and to the imposter syndrome and the uncertainty and the inconsistency, that is when we find that, yeah, actually, I was kind of dabbling, right? When we truly do take ourselves seriously, but also a little bit lightly, being sure that we'll enjoy what we do, that we'll care about what we do, that we'll be driven by our passion, the burden becomes a light one. The decision is made. Those little things that make us decide whether, well, today I am actually going to dig down and contact people, tell them what I'm up to, just rebuild that connection, just to hear what's out there, just so that people will know what I'm doing nowadays. When we decide that we will have a clear message, that we will spend time on really crafting the words that we say when we introduce ourselves to people, that so-called elevator pitch that can make all the difference between whether people think, man, you're interesting and I need to get to know you, or forget you before they've even had a chance to get to know you. That is the decision. When we know that we've decided, those decisions are all, those small choices on the day-to-day basis are all already made. That's why the decision is so important. But there's something else to know about this, and that is your kryptonite is also your superpower. The thing that has most tripped you up, the thing you have most struggled with, that is also the part of your story that makes for a hero's journey that will compel people, get their attention, and raise their awareness to the fact that you've been through this, and that makes you the ideal guide. So if there is a tragedy in your past, if there is a challenge that is still facing you, that you're still grappling with, be aware that those biggest challenges are the biggest gifts. And since I respect your time, and I know our time today is quite short, I'm not going to tell you my kryptonite story, but if you ever have a chance, and if you're curious, feel free to let me know in the comments. Ask me about my story, my kryptonite story, and I'd love to share it with you, because it's the things that challenge us the most that allow us to grow, that allow us something more than expertise, because you can spend years and years in schools and universities and trainings and getting certificates, but nothing equips you quite like the fact that you've been through an experience yourself. Even if it's professional experience, nothing compares to that personal struggle. Without the struggle, there isn't a hero. And that's what makes you a hero. And if you've been wondering what exactly your visionary message is, look into that struggle. And you might even want to take up the challenge of saying, what inside this incredibly difficult thing that crossed my path is the gift? What is the gift? And that struggle just might reveal to you what exactly the thing is that you can give others, because there are other people who go through the same struggle who will want to hear from you. You are their oak tree. Are you giving them the opportunity to hear you? One of the things that has been very powerful for me to watch is how, if for any reason you go through a struggle that makes you excluded in the world, how much of, although it's an alienating experience, it's a unifying experience for the people who hear your message. And as many of you will know, I deal quite a bit with professional speakers. And time and again, I find that these speakers become experts in areas where there is, especially right now, a tremendous focus on including people who have been previously excluded, whether it is because of different abilities. So this could mean if you've ever been through an experience of a physical or a mental situation or issue that makes you different from other people. And I'm thinking of whether it is a physical matter where you are unable to walk or see or hear or express yourself in certain ways, whether it is a mental matter. The neurodivergent people of this world are really letting their voice be heard nowadays, whether it is ADHD or autism or other depression and other so-called disorders that actually turn out to be the kryptonite that is the superpower for these people, because where one ability goes, many others open up. If you've ever been excluded because of something like that, or because of an experience, or because of your demographics, whether it is your gender, whether it is your race or your ethnicity or your language. Right now, there's a special focus on diversity and inclusion. So if you are an expert on any topic and you bring any of those things to the table, you may find that they put you in more demand than you might have expected. Many organizers, many speakers, many expert organizations right now will want that kryptonite, whatever it has been, that might just be the thing that makes you exceptional now. And the people who need to hear your message, whether they are from the same situation that you have been through, if you've been through being a single parent, or if you've been through dealing with depression, or you have been through dealing with a major life decision or a loss. There are people who've been through the same thing who want to hear from you. Can you be their oak tree? But now we've been through the kryptonite, we've been through the crisis. What about fun? What about enjoyment? What about inspiration? And that is one of the most exciting insights. And I actually, in preparing for this event, I was thinking, what else is there that people need to know? And I woke up at 2 o'clock yesterday morning knowing, oh, there's something else. And it's this. And for this, you really need a kind of a Caribbean accent. Follow delight. Follow delight. Delight is one of the things that will keep you going. Because when you're excited about something, when you're deeply inspired about something, when you enjoy it, and when you're having fun, that is the time that you're going to work with joy. That is the time when you're going to learn more information just by magical osmosis, because it's so interesting and it's so fun to you. But it's also very, very key when it comes to your media strategy. Last week, I also had a wonderful message from somebody who said to me, I know how hard people work to create their social media content, and that's why it's so important to acknowledge them. And yes, it's true. There's a lot of work behind having a media presence. But at the same time, if you do something that you really, really enjoy, it's probably not going to feel like work. So if you want to get over the imposter syndrome and over the self-doubt and over the inconsistencies, think about this. Where is delight? Find it, follow delight. And the work that you do will be filled with so much joy that even if you're working hard, it's going to be fun and inspiring, and you will have your confidence. And there's something else. People will pick up on it. When work feels like drudgery, when sharing your message or creating your media presence feels like a chore, people are going to pick up on this. We're in a time where we're so overwhelmed with so many messages that if you're just going to pump out content, people are not going to listen. They're not going to stay following you. But when you're really having fun, when it's really coming from your heart, when it just spills over and it's so delightful, not only are you going to have fun, not only are you going to be able to keep going, and not only are you going to feel a bottomless confidence that just doesn't run out and that just drowns out the sound of any self-doubt sitting on your ear and chatting away. Delight is what will help you to express yourself, and it will get your followers and your advocates and your potential clients completely hooked, because what you offer then is magic. Nobody can compete with delight. It's something we all need in a time when the world is full of challenges and pressure for us. So follow delight and let it work for you. Let it light you up and let it lighten up the people that you serve. Now, there are some very practical elements to this as well. And once you've come to this point of deciding, of discovering that your kryptonite is your superpower and of following delight, there are 3 little tricks we're going to take from business, from the world of business. And well, you know, the reason why they're cliched, I know they are, is because they work. They help to define things so that we know what actions to take. And they are the principles of a business mission. When you think about what a business does, its mission is, who are we? What do we do? And how do we do it? Now, if you're taking yourself seriously as a brand and you have a visionary message to share, it's a very good time to go and revisit this professionally. Who am I? What do I do? And how do I do it? So there's a lot to explore there, but that little business principle can take you a long way. The next one, for all of you who've done the whole business trip, after the mission comes the vision. And your vision is, yes, a vision for the world. And it's also a vision for where your visionary message is taking things. But it's very specifically, what is my purpose? What is my purpose within this world and the world that I envisage? So what would I like the world to look like? And what is my purpose within that? And once again, this rules out a lot of little decisions that can otherwise make our days fly by in a blur. What do I do today? Becomes a very different question when I say, what are my priorities in the light of my vision, the world that I want to see? Because when we remember this, we get a long view that doesn't limit us to today, that doesn't leave us to where, well, we're an acorn and then we're a sapling. It reminds us that one day our legacy will be an oak, leaving shade and providing shelter and support for many people. And then after the mission and the vision come the values. And your values are very simply asking the question, what is important to me? But there's a very interesting sideline to this, and that is, what if we reverse engineered this, and instead of starting with what is important to me, which can become a pretty difficult question when you start to really think about it, and say, looking at your day today, well, let's make this personal, looking at my day today, what is important to me? Better yet, let's look at my day yesterday. How did I spend my time? What did I do? Where did I go? Who did I connect with? How did I do things? If I look at all that, can I extract from them what my values are? If I say my values are supporting my family, my values are being available for the people in my community, my values are serving my clients, my values are supporting the wider environment. Would a snapshot of our day-to-day life reflect this? So that's an interesting way to work this forwards and back. And if we really look at our values and we're clear about them, what probably is going to happen is we think about each day and we think about each thing we're going to do. We think about our media strategy and our message and say, well, does this really reflect my values? Those are tricky questions, but it's incredible how, remember that axe? Decide. When we know what our values are, we can see how every decision we make flows from that. So we've had the mission and the vision and the values. And this brings us to the idea of walking the talk. When it comes to our visionary message and the media strategy we build around it, do we really walk the talk? It's a challenge because it's one of the most difficult things to do. And maybe at times you'll find this is where the imposter syndrome creeps in. I'll tell you one thing for sure. I was planning very bravely to become a health coach at one time. And one of the biggest reasons why I didn't was because I realized, although I know everything I need to know about nutrition and exercise and rest and stress management and yoga and a lot of other things that I'd studied with passion for a very, very long time and practiced, I wasn't consistent about it. And I actually got so terrified that if I became a health coach, that people would say, you're not doing what you say. You're not practicing what you preach. You're not walking the talk. And look, you've got so many. The evidence is there that maybe your system doesn't work. You know, if we look at you, we might say you're not in perfect shape. We might say you don't always sleep perfectly at night, that you're not always cool, calm, and collected, or that you're not in perfect health. And this actually scared me off so much that I didn't try. But thinking about it now, I realize that nobody is perfect all the time. And this is not an excuse to slack off, but rather it opens up a very different way of looking at our media strategy. And if you've been watching the League of Visionaries podcast, you might have come across this idea of building in public. Building in public is an approach that an expert came onto the League of Visionaries podcast to talk about. His name is Renier Lombard of Flans Creative Agency, or they call themselves Directive Creators. And they teach startups to build in public in order to attract funding. What they do by building in public is whatever happens with a company, when it's good, when it's bad, when it's neutral, they share this on their social media. They share this in their presentations. They're not hiding the fact that sometimes things go wrong. When things go wrong, they share how they learn from them. And they teach people how to do this in startups because that builds a relationship with audiences. And eventually, it even brings in investors. Now, if you're a freelancer or you're an expert or you're an entrepreneur of some kind, this is an interesting approach because building in public means that you'll never have to worry about what to post. If you did something today, you can post about it. You're building in public. Something went wrong. Well, you're building in public. Share what went wrong. Share what you learned. Of course, be respectful and be considerate of the people who are involved. But make use of that experience. Walk the talk. And it may bring you followers who trust you more because they don't think that, well, you're perfect and you've got this unattainable, perfect reality. People really appreciate our vulnerabilities, as we saw the kryptonite as superpower idea. People want to know, not that we're perfect, they want to know that we have our strengths and we have our weaknesses, and they want to know how we deal with it, especially if tapping our kryptonite is one of the things that we want to talk about, or one of the things that we want to make part of our visionary message. So do walk the talk. And now that you're walking the talk and you've been through all these steps, let's do a quick rundown. We spoke about the problem of imposter syndrome, self-doubt, and struggling to be consistent as we begin to share our visionary message. But the answer lies with remembering that great oak tree, because the oak gives benefit to everybody over a long-lasting time. And when we think about the benefit we can give to others, it's suddenly much easier to get over ourselves, forget the self-doubt, and be consistent, because now we know what matters. It begins with that decision, cutting off all other possibilities, realizing that your kryptonite is your superpower. And remember, follow delight. Find what it is that really, really excites you and tap that as you share your visionary message. And by the way, if you know that your visionary message is going to evolve over time, wonderful. Still find the elements of delight, the things that really excite you now, because it will make your work easy, it will make it fun, and it will draw the right people to you. There are few things as powerful as seeing somebody having fun everybody wants a part of that. Then remember your mission. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you do it? Think about your vision for the world and the purpose that you have within this. Your values, what's important to you, and make them clear when you walk the talk. Now that's walking the talk, and as promised, you have the chance to talk the walk. So in the Media Strategy Mafia, we help you to formulate and share your visionary message with the world, to receive the publicity and the profits that you deserve. So if you are interested in giving this a try in the Media Strategy Mafia meeting, we have a live Media Strategy Mafia Masterclass. And what we'll be doing is diving deeper into these principles. Everything from finding the people that you serve, the ways in which you can share your message, tap your kryptonite, tell your story, explore your hero's journey, and then move into a deeper connection with your mission, your vision, and your values as a visionary, as an expert, as an entrepreneur, and as somebody who can serve the people who need you. And then finally, we move into walking the talk so that you have the opportunity to really share your visionary message through everything that you do. Mahatma Gandhi said, "My life is my message." And as we speak about your visionary message and sharing it with confidence, with conviction, with clarity, and consistency, I invite you to make your life your message. That is the foundation of a sound media strategy. And that's why it's an inside job.